What's up, guys? Welcome back to Watching Sundays. Things look different behind me right now. That's because I'm at my sister's place. I'm watching her dogs, and I can't be with Flip right now. What's up, Flip? I know you're recording your own video right now for the Orville, so let's get into this new episode. Right off the bat, this episode was super interesting. We had a doctor bring along some cargo that had a time capsule from the 21st century, and it was super interesting. We got a look at cigarettes. We got a look at all of the old technology, including a shout out to what we know today as smartphones. An iPhone was there, so they found a way to power it up, and it was love at first sight for Gordon. He fell in love immediately from this girl, Laura, that came from this iPhone that recorded a message from the 21st century for this time capsule. He goes on to upload her data from the phone to create a simulation of sorts of her past, her life. You know, the computer extrapolates all of the stuff from her messages, her videos, her images, and creates a persona that Gordon gets to interact with in this simulation. And it was very interesting to see, and in this episode we get to explore a lot of 21st century woes, right? We have the classic relationship woes. We also have addiction with the cigarettes. Now as someone who used to smoke, this was super interesting, super nostalgic to see how the Mocklins or Bortis and Clyden would interact with cigarettes and how they would handle addiction in this manner. And it turns out that they were in fact highly susceptible to addiction, and so that was kind of funny to see how they would go day to day dealing with this addiction. Not only that, their withdrawal symptoms, because as soon as the crew found out, obviously they intervened and compelled them to quit, and so they had kind of this buddy system, Bortis and Clyden, where they would have to support each other throughout their withdrawal symptoms. And we go through the tropes of smoking. We have the people hiding the cigarettes or sneaking a smoke in the airlock. But the most interesting takeaway from this episode was obviously simulated love. Gordon has the simulated program of Laura. He starts to hang out with who she was supposedly back in the 21st century, and he, falls in love basically. And it's an interesting question to explore whether or not you can actually fall in love with a simulation. And this all harkens back to whether or not Dr. Finn and Isaac's relationship is any different when their interactions are simulated in a way where they only have this kind of robot-human intimacy outside of the simulator, but they have this human-on-human interaction and intimacy inside the simulator. Now, there's a real person on both ends. With Gordon's side, obviously, it's just a computer program that's been simulated from data from the phone, and it's interesting to think about the implications of whether or not you can actually fall in love with the simulation, whether a computer can create this persona, whether or not you feed it the parameters or whether or not it gets the parameters from an uploaded device such as her iPhone. It's an interesting theme to explore in this episode. I thought Gordon was going to have a happy ending. Obviously, that wasn't the case. Of course, her life had been fully lived, at least to the extent that exists in her phone. And so eventually he realized that you can't create the perfect girl. You certainly can't depend on a relationship that is completely dependent on the parameters you feed it or the things that you want solely for yourself. As was the case in this episode, we got to explore a lot of 21st century, a lot of how life used to be, but I'm still going to harken back to my desire to see how life is now. I want them to go back to Earth. I want them to show 25th century technology. I want them to show 25th century society. How does a society without currency, without an exchange of goods for currency work? Because when they talk about it, it sounds like an idealistic society, and when you think about it, it sounds even more difficult to picture. So I would like them to explore the 25th century instead of going back in time and seeing all these old references. I know it's very nostalgic and it feels good to see all this stuff, especially the cigarettes and the iPhones and stuff like that, but I think there's huge potential in sci-fi to show society as it is in the time period they're at, especially when it comes to shows like Orville, where they're off in space exploring different societies and different civilizations. We would love to see how society is now, or in their time. But that was the episode. I thought it was super interesting to see how Gordon fell in love with a simulation that was created seemingly or extrapolated from a device with just a person's messages, images, videos, and basically their social media presence. Could that be something that's possible? Could we upload someone's consciousness and stream it into the cloud so that we can create simulations in the future? What if we were able to upload our social media presence and visit it in the future and say, hey, this is a simulation of who you used to be?
What is up, guys? Look at this! Look at this. I'm sitting on Element's chair. Wonder what he's doing right now. Anyways, this was a great episode. Awesome episodes. What did you guys think? This was all about Gordon. Gordon deserves his own episode, just like everybody else in the Orville. I think that's what makes this show so great, because everybody gets a chance to shine on their own. You get to see Gordon go through this kind of really heartfelt type of episode. And you know what? Let the guy find some love. You know, if anyone deserves love, it's Gordon. He hasn't met anyone on the ship that he can relate to or even have some kind of platonic relationship with. And, you know, this was really cool. You know, he finally finds, even though it was a girl that that does not exist anymore, essentially. But I thought it was really telling when they had that argument in the mess hall with Gordon and Ed. You know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a simulation or not. He has found love in a way that matters to him, and I think that's really what's most important. You know, if you find something that you really love, even though if it's a simulation, it's so weird for me to say that you can find love even if it's a simulation. I mean, Element would agree with me. I mean, Dr. Claire and Isaac and their simulation, that's how they made their relationship work. Why can't Gordon have the same? You know, if it's gonna make him happy, then damn it, give it to him. Give him some love, damn it. This episode started off really funny. You know, they find this time capsule, and the first thing that kind of relates to me right away is Bortus and Clyden's addiction to smoking. Give him 500 cigarettes. I can relate because I used to smoke, and it's a hard habit to quit, guys. You know, if you're currently a smoker, you can relate as well. Hopefully you're doing a good job trying to get rid of it or trying to quit out of it, because it is hard. You get like really crackheady about it. You start thinking about it too much, and it starts to run your life, and you have to have one whenever you can. Clyden and Bortus was getting so amped up and so angry about not having a smoke. It was really telling on how that addiction really does and how it really works on your body and your mind Laura Huggins, who's played by the beautiful Leighton Meester from Gossip Girl, did a phenomenal job in this episode. I think she and Gordon really had great chemistry together, and it was just really great to see Gordon kind of have a different type of episode other than, like, you know, piloting the ship and like going into these like missions to save the universe. It was really nice to see Gordon finally get some attention, and I thought this episode was awesome. Now, I know it was a simulation, right? But like, if you could really find love, if you can find the ultimate happiness, the ultimate love that you've been dreaming about, that you've fantasized about, and that you know, everyone, and I think I know I can speak this for everybody. Everyone has dreams of that perfect love, of that perfect romance. You know, I'm kind of a hopeless romantic myself, and you know, if you had a chance to find that, even though if it's a simulation in the future, would you do it? I would. But you have to face the truth, right? And the reality of it all is that it is a simulation. She does not exist anymore. And as soon as Gordon found himself in a predicament that it wasn't pleasing to him, you know, when Laura brings back Greg into her life, even though he knew this already, he started to mess around with it like God. And I think that's kind of when things go south for him. But other than that, you know, it was amazing. Great episode. I loved it. I kind of teared up a little bit at the end because it was so tragic. He finally found someone, or, you know, as real as you want it to be, it was real to him. And it was a little tragic and a little sad to see him go through that heartbreak. Gordon, my man, keep it up, man. You are gonna find love on the Orville. Real love. You're gonna find some real love soon. Make it happen, Seth. Give him somebody to bone. And once again, guys, peace out.
In any case, that was the episode. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was an interesting take, an interesting theme to visit. And as always, guys, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more Watching Sundays videos. And we'll see you guys next week.